Welcome to the Brian Craig Show podcast. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. All right, let me tell you what we're going to do here today, because I'm going to do something very different and something I've only done once before, and only with President Trump. I was doing my show prep for the podcast, and what I was doing was gathering sound bites from Pete Hegseth's speech today, which I thought was the most historic speech ever given by a member of any president's cabinet in the history of the American presidency. There's just no getting around it. If you can think of one that's more historic and memorable than this one will be, history was made today, calling all the generals and admirals from around the world, all of them, to one place to be dressed down like this. Never happened before. I mean, this and the speech was amazing. And as I was putting together the sound bites, I realized that I basically was pulling up the whole speech in sound bites. So I said, forget this. I'm just going to pull up the whole speech and go through it and talk about it as it goes. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through Pete Hegseth's speech. I pulled up the whole speech, and I'll stop down and talk about it as we're going. And you can call in. We'll take some calls at 888-465-2631. Now, the Brian Craig Show podcast is on all podcast platforms. Just search for The Brian Craig Show. And if you want to catch the show live, or you can call in, follow me on YouTube, Brian Craig Show on YouTube. You'll get a notification there if you sub to my channel. Now, those of you that are watching on the live stream with the green behind me, to see and hear the audio and video of the great Pete Hegseth, you're going to have to go to my main stream, and there's a direct link to my main stream in the description of that video, the one with the green behind me. It'll take you to the main live stream and the main chat, and you'll be able to see and hear the speech and everything that I'm going over. But there's no doubt in my mind that Pete Hegseth is a living Captain America, a living John Wayne and General Patton. I just was so blown away by this. And, you know, with that huge American flag behind him when he was speaking, how many of you were thinking about that first scene in the movie Patton with George C. Scott? It's pretty amazing. So let's just dive into it and get going. So he was introduced by Raisin Kane, and then he came out. This is Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the Joint Chiefs, generals, admirals, commanders, officers, senior enlisted, NCOs, enlisted, and every member of our
Look at all of them
military.
There. Pissed. They're all pissed.
Good morning.
You know, they are totally pissed. I mean, these guys are the generals and admirals from all of our posts around the world. And this is something that you really have to think about with these guys. Okay? He's going to talk about how the Department of Woke is over, right? It's the Department of War now, or the War Department. These generals and admirals, a huge chunk of them, how many we really don't know, but a huge chunk of them came up through the ranks during the woke era of Obama and Biden, and then that auto pen administration of Biden. So these generals, they hate Pete Hegseth. These admirals, they hate Pete Hegseth. They hate Trump too. You know, Barack Obama became president 17 years ago, almost 18 years ago. It's been a long time. So these guys, most of them I would think were in the service then, but they came up through the senior ranks during that Obama era, in the auto pen era. So to them, woke is not a bad thing. And all these sad conditions in our military, they're responsible for it.
And welcome to the War Department. Because the era of the Department of Defense is over.
That's right.
You see, the motto of my first platoon was, those who long for peace must prepare for war. This is, of course, not a new idea. This crowd knows that. The origin dates to the 4th century Rome and has been repeated ever since, including by our first commander-in-chief, George Washington, the first leader of the War Department. It captures a simple yet profound truth. To ensure peace, we must prepare for war. From this moment forward, the only mission of the newly restored Department of War is this: warfighting. Preparing for war and preparing to win. Unrelenting and uncompromising in that pursuit. Not because we want war, no one here wants war. But it's because we love peace. We love peace for our fellow citizens. They deserve peace, and they rightfully expect us to deliver it. Our number one job, of course, is to be strong so that we can prevent war in the first place. The president talks about it all the time. It's called peace through strength. And as history teaches us, the only people who actually deserve peace are those who are willing to wage war to defend it. That's why pacifism is so naive and dangerous. It ignores human nature and it ignores human history. Either you protect your people and your sovereignty, or you will be subservient to something or someone.
That's right.
It's a truth as old as time. And since waging war is so costly in blood and treasure, we owe our republic a military that will win any war we choose, or any war that is thrust upon us. Should our enemies choose foolishly to challenge us, they will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies,
I love this.
F-A-F-O. If necessary, our troops can translate that for you.
You know, this, you ever heard any defense secretary, now we got a war secretary again, you ever heard him talk like this? I mean, you never see anything like it. And, you know, this is one of the reasons President Trump, he picked very good people, but he picked some people from television, because you have to be able to present what it is you're doing. And obvious, I mean, this is like watching an Apple presentation or a TED Talk or something, isn't it? Now, and I want to say, out of all of the people we have on the bench, isn't Pete Hegseth the most Trump-like? We all like JD, we like Marco Rubio, we like all these people, and we talk about who the second MAGA president's going to be. But Pete Hegseth is the most like Trump than any of them, isn't he? He absolutely is.
Another way to put it is peace through strength, brought to you by the warrior ethos. And we are restoring both. As President Trump has said, and he's right, we have the strongest, most powerful, most lethal, and most prepared military on the planet. That is true, full stop. Nobody can touch us. It's not even close. This is true largely because of the historic investments that he made in his first term, and we will continue in this term. But it's also true because of the leaders in this room and the incredible troops that you all lead. But the world, and as the chairman mentioned, our enemies get a vote. You feel it, I feel it. This is a moment of urgency, mounting urgency. Enemies gather, threats grow. There is no time for games. We must be prepared. If we're going to prevent and avoid war, we must prepare now. We are the strength part of peace through strength. And either we're ready to win or we are not. You see, this urgent moment, of course, requires more troops, more munitions, more drones, more Patriots, more submarines, more B-21 bombers. It requires more innovation, more AI in everything and ahead of the curve. More cyber effects, more counter-UAS, more space, more speed. America is the strongest, but we need to get stronger and quickly. The time is now, and the cause is urgent. The moment requires restoring and refocusing our defense industrial base, our shipbuilding industry, and onshoring all critical components. It requires, as President Trump has done, getting our allies and partners to step up and share the burden. America cannot do everything. The free world requires allies with real hard power, real military leadership, and real military capabilities. The War Department is tackling and prioritizing all of these things. And I'll be giving a speech next month that'll showcase the speed, innovation, and generational acquisition reforms we are undertaking urgently.
Can't wait for that one.
Likewise, the nature of the threats we face in our hemisphere and in deterring China is another speech for another day. Coming soon.
He's got a lot of confidence. These are generals and admirals. I mean, it takes a lot of confidence to do this.
As I drink my coffee. This speech today is about people. and it's about culture. The topic today is about the nature of ourselves. Because no plan, no program, no reform, no formation will ultimately succeed unless we have the right people and the right culture at the War Department. If I've learned one core lesson in my 8 months in this job, it's that personnel is policy. Personnel is policy. The best way to take care of troops is to give them good leaders committed to the warfighting culture of the department. Not perfect leaders, good leaders. Competent, qualified, professional, agile, aggressive, innovative, risk-taking, apolitical, faithful to their oath and to the Constitution. Eugene Sledge, in his World War II memoir, wrote, quote, "War is brutish, inglorious, and a terrible waste. Combat leaves an indelible mark on those who are forced to endure it. The only redeeming factors are my comrades' incredible bravery and their devotion to each other." In combat, there are thousands of variables, as I learned in Iraq and Afghanistan, and as so many of you did in so many more places. Leaders can only control about 3 of them. You control how well you're trained, mostly how well you're equipped, and the last variable is how well you lead. After that, you're on your own. Our warfighters are entitled to be led by the best and most capable leaders. That is who we need you all to be. Even then, in combat, even if you do everything right, you may still lose people because the enemy always gets a vote. We have a sacred duty to ensure that our warriors are led by the most capable and qualified combat leaders. This is
okay. Now, I just to announce, those of you that are watching with the green screen, if you want to see and hear the audio and video that I'm sharing, go to my main stream. The link is in the description of the video. Now, I stopped it here because it's one of the few times we get a good shot of the generals and the admirals. When you look at them, how many of them do you think are happy or pissed off? I'm going to say, looking at that, we only get a couple of shots that are this good during the whole speech. It's like the second one. And it gets worse for them when he goes into some of the details. But I'm going to say about a third are happy. And 2/3 are at different levels of pissed offness towards Pete Hegseth. He had to salute them not too long ago, you know. Now he's the boss.
One thing you and I can control, and we owe it to the force to deliver it. For too long, we have simply not done that. The military has been forced by foolish and reckless politicians to focus on the wrong things. In many ways, this speech is about fixing decades of decay. Some of it obvious, some of it hidden. Or as the chairman has put it, we are clearing out the debris, removing the distractions, clearing the way for leaders to be leaders. You might say we're ending the war on warriors. I heard someone wrote a book about that. For too long, we've promoted too many uniformed leaders for the wrong reasons, based on their race, based on gender quotas, based on historic so-called firsts. We've pretended that combat arms and non-combat arms are the same thing. We've weeded out so-called toxic leaders under the guise of double-blind psychology assessments, promoting risk-averse, go-along-to-get-along conformists instead. You name it, the department did it. Foolish and reckless political leaders set the wrong compass heading.
Here we go. Now it's going to get good.
And we lost our way. We became the woke department.
The woke department.
But not anymore.
I love it.
Right now, I'm looking out at a sea of Americans who made a choice when they were young men and young women to do something most Americans will not, to serve something greater than yourselves, to fight for God and country, for freedom and the Constitution. You made a choice to serve when others did not, and I commend you. You are truly the best of America. But this does not mean, and this goes for all of us, that our path to this auditorium on this day was a straight line, or that the conditions of the formations we lead are where we want them to be. You love your country, and we love this uniform, which is why we must do better. We just have to be honest. We have to say with our mouths what we see with our eyes, to just tell it like it is in plain English, to point out the obvious things right in front of us. That's what leaders must do. We cannot go another day without directly addressing the plank in our own eye, without addressing the problems in our own commands and in our own formations. This administration has done a great deal from day one.
See, now this next part, when he starts getting into these things, by the way, we're going through Pete Hegseth's amazing speech today. What he's doing from this point forward, he's dressing these generals and admirals down. And he's doing it very publicly because he wants their entire commands to know it. That's why he brought them there. I'm amazed that this hasn't happened before, where they got all the commanders together like this. It's the first time it's ever happened in history, ever. You know, maybe George Washington didn't have many generals. I bet even Washington didn't have all his guys together at once. They didn't have that many generals back then. But he is, make no mistake about it, he's reprimanding them.
To remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department. To rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses.
No more dudes in dresses.
No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that shit. I've made it my mission to uproot the obvious distractions that made us less capable and less lethal. That said, the War Department requires the next step. Underneath the woke garbage is a deeper problem, and a more important problem that we are fixing and fixing fast. Common sense is back at the White House, so making the necessary changes is actually pretty straightforward. President Trump expects it. And the litmus test for these changes, it's pretty simple. Would I want my eldest son, who is 15 years old, eventually joining the types of formations that we are currently wielding? If in any way the answer to that is no, or even yes, but, then we're doing something wrong. Because my son is no more important than any other American citizen who dons the cloth of our nation. He is no more important than your son. All precious souls made in the image and likeness of God. Every parent deserves to know that their son or their daughter that joins our ranks is entering exactly the kind of unit that the Secretary of War would want his son to join. Think of it as the golden rule test. Jesus said, do unto others that which you would have done unto yourself. It's the ultimate simplifying test of truth. The new War Department golden rule is this: do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit.
Wow. This is amazing. You're listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast. I'm Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And we're going through, without question, is the most historic speech ever given by a sitting member of any presidential cabinet. What just happened here, they're going to be studying this like in West Point, right, in 100 years. This is absolutely amazing. We're going to take a quick break, come back with more of this. You're welcome to call in. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you want to call in, the toll-free number is pinned in the live chat. We'll be right back.
Life can knock you down, but what if you had the power to get back up, stronger than ever before? It is possible. You just need the right help and guidance, and that's what you will find on the podcast, The Power of Up, with Chris Kellogg. Each week, Chris will share real stories, fresh perspectives, as well as practical, actionable tools to lift your mindset, boost your mental health, and remind you that you are never alone on the climb, because when life pulls you down, you have the power of up. Subscribe Subscribe now on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. The Power of Up with Chris Kellogg. Tune in right now. Are you a Swiftie, a proud chiefty, or maybe both? Then listen up. Introducing Live Life Bold, Love Your Work. Available on Amazon is the ultimate fan-inspired journal from author Latina Baja 1358. It's a fun, creative tribute to Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, and it's designed to help you dream big, stay organized, and express yourself each and every day. You can use it as a personal diary, a notebook, or creative space. Write down your stories, secrets, and lyrics. Sketch your ideas, craft poetry, or plan out your goals. With inspirational icons on the cover and motivating words front and back, Live Life Bold is your daily reminder to embrace your creativity and live unapologetically. Whether you're taking notes, doodling between class, or writing the next great love song, this is more than a notebook. This is your space to shine. Order your copy of Live Life Bold, Love Your Work on Amazon in paperback and hardcover. Start writing your story, Swiftie style. In a world filled with noise, unrest, and uncertainty, what if the cure was already within you? The #1 Amazon bestseller from author Kareem Galani, Fate, Faith, and Free Will. The Alchemy of Anxiety, available on Amazon, seamlessly weaves together ancient wisdom and modern practices. This must-read and life-changing book shows you how to dissolve fear, release anxiety, and awaken the power of love through yoga, breath work, chakra balancing, and the healing resonance of sound and frequency. Fate, Faith, and Free Will become your guide to living with clarity, compassion, as well as purpose. Fate, Faith, and Free Will is a lifeline for seekers, a call to rise above illusion, and a reminder that the healing of the individual is the healing of the collective. If your soul has been waiting for a spark of truth, this is it. Step into love, step into power, and order your copy right now on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover editions. Fate, Faith, and Free Will from author Kareem Galani on Amazon.
This is Dr. Philip Appleton. You guys have been hearing me on the radio for years, and everybody knows whoever comes to my office, I care about you 100%. We are treating auto accidents. In an auto accident, there's a lot of things that occur in an accident. Anywhere from headaches, neck pain, shoulder pain, arm pain, elbow pain, wrist pain, knee pain, elbow pain, sciatica. People use the word whiplash all the time. That's it for neck pain. Come in for an evaluation. Let me look at you. Let me evaluate you. And then we can go from there. Auto accidents, Uber, and Lyft accidents, we do take care of, and also slip and falls. So you have any issues, give me a call or come into my office. There's always no cost for the consultation.
Call Dr. Appleton and take advantage of that no-charge consultation right now. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. Online, AppletonCairo.com, and say bye-bye to your pain.
All right, we're back. I'm Brian. You're listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast. We're doing something I've only done once or twice before, and only with President Trump. I don't think I've ever done this with someone other than President Trump, but I've only done it with him a couple of times. His original speech down the escalator, and maybe one more time. I'm playing in its entirety, and we're a good chunk of the way through it, Pete Hegseth's incredible speech today. And it just blew me away. This is my second time watching it, really kind of my third, because I was going through it and taking out the sound bites of it, and it just blew me away. So I thought it'd be better just to play the whole thing, and we can talk about it as it goes on. If you're on the live stream with the green behind me, if you go to the main stream, you can see and hear all the audio and video that I'm sharing, and the direct link to my main stream is pinned in the live chat. It's also in the description of that video. So let's get back into it. The great Pete Hegseth. And I want to ask you guys, is he the most Trump-like out of the entire cabinet to you? Do you see him as the most Trump-like? I do. I've known he's very good, but this really was impressive. All right, back to it.
Would you want him serving with fat or unfit or undertrained troops?
How many times did he
or
say
alongside
fat?
people who can't meet
count?
basic standards?
That's the first.
Or in a unit where standards were lowered so certain types of troops could make it in? In a unit where leaders were promoted for reasons other than merit, performance, and warfighting? The answer is not just no, it's hell no. This means at the War Department, first and foremost, we must restore a ruthless, dispassionate, and common sense application of standards. I don't want my son serving alongside troops who are out of shape, or in combat unit with females who can't meet the same combat arms physical standards as men, or troops who are not fully proficient on their assigned weapons, platform, or task, or under a leader who was the first, but not the best. Standards must be uniform, gender neutral, and high. If not, they're not standards. They're just suggestions. Suggestions that get our sons and daughters killed. When it comes to combat arms units, and there are many different stripes across our joint force, the era of politically correct, overly sensitive, don't hurt anyone's feelings leadership ends right now. At every level, either you can meet the standard, either you can do the job, either you are disciplined, fit, and trained, or you are out. And that's why today, at my direction, and this is the first of 10 Department of War directives that are arriving at your commands as we speak and in your inbox.
Oh, they're not happy
Today,
about that.
at my direction, each service will ensure that every requirement for every combat MOS, for every designated combat arms position, returns to the highest male standard only. Because this job is life or death. Standards must be met. And not just met, at every level, we should seek to exceed the standard, to push the envelope, to compete. It's common sense and core to who we are and what we do. It should be in our DNA.
You know, Pete Hegseth, today, you know, what he's doing in this today and in his term as Secretary of War, he is making a place in the history books for himself. He is making the largest, biggest, most important transformation the military has seen since it was desegregated back in the 40s.
Today, at my direction, we are also adding a combat field test for combat arms units that must be executable in any environment at any time and with combat equipment. These tests, they'll look familiar. They'll resemble the Army Expert Physical Fitness Assessment or the Marine Corps Combat Fitness Test. I'm also directing that warfighters in combat jobs execute their service fitness test at a gender-neutral, age-normed male standard scored above 70%. It all starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon.
Oh, man.
And leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look.
Some of them are sitting right there.
And it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test. And as the chairman said, yes, there is no PT test. But today, at my direction, every member of the joint force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year, as well as meet height and weight requirements twice a year, every year of service. Also today, at my direction, every warrior across our joint force is required to do PT every duty day. Should be common sense. I mean, most units do that already, but we're codifying it. And we're not talking like hot yoga and stretching. Real hard PT, either as a unit or as an individual. At every level, from the Joint Chiefs to everyone in this room to the youngest private.
The generals got to do PT every day.
So many of you do this already.
The generals
Active,
too.
Guard, and Reserve. This also means grooming standards. No more beards, long hair, superficial individual expression. We're going to cut our hair, shave our beards, and adhere to standards. Because it's like the broken windows theory of policing. It's like when you let the small stuff go, the big stuff eventually goes. So you have to address the small stuff. This is on duty in the field and in the rear. If you want a beard, you can join Special Forces.
Okay, now, question about this beard. Don't we got a lot of Muslims in the military now? What about their beards? Do their beards go too? This is amazing.
If not, then shave. We don't have a military full of Nordic pagans. But unfortunately, we have had leaders who either refuse to call BS and enforce standards, or leaders who felt like they were not allowed to enforce standards. Both are unacceptable. And that's why today, at my direction, the era of unprofessional appearance is over. No more beardos. The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done.
Wow.
Simply put, if you do not meet the male-level physical standards for combat positions, cannot pass a PT test, or don't want to shave and look professional, it's time for a new position or a new profession.
Ooh, you're out.
I sincerely appreciate the proactive efforts the secretaries have already taken in some of those areas, service secretaries. And these directives are intended to simply accelerate those efforts. On the topic of standards, allow me a few words to talk about toxic leaders. Upholding and demanding high standards is not toxic. Enforcing high standards, not toxic leadership. Leading warfighters toward the goals of high, gender-neutral, and uncompromising standards in order to forge a cohesive, formidable, and lethal Department of War is not toxic. It is our duty, consistent with our constitutional oath. Real toxic leadership is endangering subordinates with low standards. Real toxic leadership is promoting people based on immutable characteristics or quotas instead of based on merit. Real toxic leadership is promoting destructive ideologies that are an anathema to the Constitution and the laws of nature and nature's God, as Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence. The definition of toxic has been turned upside down, and we're correcting that. That's why today, at my direction, we're undertaking a full review of the department's definitions of so-called toxic leadership, bullying, and hazing, to empower leaders to enforce standards without fear of retribution or second guessing. Of course, you can't do like nasty bullying and hazing. We're talking about words like bullying and hazing and toxic. They've been weaponized and bastardized inside our formations, undercutting commanders and NCOs. No more. Setting, achieving, and maintaining high standards is what you all do. And if that makes me toxic, then so be it. Second, today at our direction, we're ensuring that every service, every unit, every schoolhouse, and every form of professional military education conduct an immediate review of their standards. Now, we've done this in many places already, but today it goes across the entire Department of War. Any place where tried and true physical standards were altered, especially since 2015 when combat arms standards were changed to ensure females could qualify, must be returned to their original standard. Other standards have been manipulated to hit racial quotas as well, which is just as unacceptable. This too must end. Merit only. The president talks about it all the time, merit-based.
This is the best.
Here are two basic frameworks I urge you to pursue in this process. Standards I call, my staff's heard all about them, the 1990 test and the E6 test.
Now, I'm guessing this 1990, that's right. Things went to crap with Clinton when Clinton came in, right? Remember, he had 92, became president in 93. They began that don't ask, don't tell thing. So that's probably when things started to go down the tube. So he's going back to the 1990 test. Now, those of you watching on the stream with the green screen behind me, if you go to the main stream, you can see all the audio and video that we're sharing, okay? We'll get right back to it. Back to Pete, the great Pete Hegseth. This is his, if you're just joining us, we're going through Pete Hegseth's speech from today. It is absolutely amazing. It really, truly is. I was so moved and impressed by this that I wanted to share the whole thing with you. I just thought doing it in sound bites didn't do it. I think people need to see the whole thing, all right? And by the way, the Brian Craig Show podcast is available on all podcast platforms. Just search for The Brian Craig Show, and I'll pop right up.
The 1990s test is simple. What were the military standards in 1990? And if they have changed, tell me why. Was it a necessary change based on the evolving landscape of combat? Or was the change due to a softening, weakening, or gender-based pursuit of other priorities? 1990s seems to be as good a place to start as any. And the E6 test. Ask yourself, does what you're doing make the leadership, accountability, and lethality efforts of an E6, or frankly an O3, does it make it easier or more complicated?
No.
Does the change empower staff sergeants, petty officers, and tech sergeants to get back to basics? The answer should be a resounding yes. The E6 test, or O3 test, clarifies a lot, and it clarifies quickly. Because war does not care if you're a man or a woman. Neither does the enemy. Nor does the weight of your rucksack, the size of an artillery round, or the body weight of a casualty on the battlefield who must be carried. This, and I want to be very clear about this, this is not about preventing women from serving. We very much value the impact of female troops. Our female officers and NCOs are the absolute best in the world. But when it comes to any job that requires physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is. If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it. That is not the intent, but it could be the result, so be it. It will also mean that weak men won't qualify because we're not playing games. This is combat. This is life or death. As we all know, this is you versus an enemy hell-bent on killing you. To be an effective, lethal fighting force, you must trust that the warrior alongside you in battle is capable, truly physically capable of doing what is necessary under fire. You know this is the only standard you would want for your kids and for your grandkids. Apply the War Department Golden Rule, the 1990 test, and the E6 test, and it's really hard to go wrong. Third, we are attacking and ending the walking on eggshells and zero defect command culture. A risk-averse culture means officers execute not to lose instead of to win. A risk-averse culture means NCOs are not empowered to enforce standards. Commanders and NCOs don't take necessary risks or make tough adjustments for fear of rocking the boat or making mistakes. A blemish-free record is what peacetime leaders covet the most, which is the worst of all incentives. We, as senior leaders, need to end the poisonous culture of risk aversion and empower our NCOs at all levels to enforce standards. Truth be told, for the most part, we don't need new standards. We just need to reestablish a culture where enforcing standards is possible. And that's why today at my direct...
William, thank you for the super chat. Thank you, thank you. In a word, guys, in the chat, if you're watching live, describe in a word your observation. How do you feel about Pete Hegseth? And if you're not watching live, let me know in the comments.
Direction. I'm issuing new policies that will overhaul the IG, EO, and MEO process.
Oh, this is big right here.
I call it the no more walking on eggshells policy. We are liberating commanders and NCOs. We are liberating you.
Okay, now I'm going to stop here. I'm going to take our next break. And if you want to call in, you're welcome to do so at 888-465-2631. We're going through the entire speech, and we're more than halfway through it, guys. And this speech is... William just gave a super chat. Thank you so much. And CR just gifted 5 memberships on the YouTube channel there. Thank you so much, CR. And remember, if you become a member, if you receive one of those, you get all the special emojis and everything that my wife made for members, and you get your name in a special color, and you're also supporting the channel. So thanks for those Membership gifts are greatly appreciated. You're listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We'll take a quick break and be back with the Secretary of War and his historic speech, Pete Hegseth, after this.
Sometimes the smallest creatures have the biggest lessons to share. Meet Paws the Penguin. Wise, kind, and just a little bit funny in Tiny Tales of Truth. Paws the Penguin teaches patience. From author Stacy Kirch. Available on Amazon. Paws discovers that while grown-ups often tell kids to be patient, they don't always follow that advice themselves. Through heartwarming and lighthearted stories, Paws gently reminds us that patience is a skill we can all learn. Children, parents, teachers, and even busy adults. With charm and warmth, this delightful children's book shows that the best way to teach patience is by living it. Tiny Tales of Truth is perfect for family story time or classroom reading. It brings timeless values to life in a way that kids will love and grown-ups will appreciate. Bring home the gentle wisdom of Paws the Penguin right now and order your copy on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. Tiny Tales of Truth. Paws the Penguin teaches patience. From author Stacy Kirch. Living with autoimmune symptoms can feel overwhelming. The fatigue, pain, inflammation, and the constant struggle just to get through the day. But what if you could take back control and start living again? You can do just that in the new book from author Kobe Connolly, How to Counteract Autoimmune Symptoms and Get Back to Living, available on Amazon. In this must-read and life-changing book, the author shares a powerful, holistic approach that unites the mind, body, and spirit. This isn't about quick fixes or one-size-fits-all cures. It's about giving you practical strategies as well as empowering tools to reduce stress, restore balance, and improve your quality of life. When you read How to Counteract Autoimmune Systems and Get Back to Living, you'll discover evidence-based insights and mindful practices designed to help you feel better, live better, and reclaim the joy that illness has stolen from you. Stop just surviving and start thriving, and order your copy of How to Counteract Autoimmune Symptoms and Get Back to Living, available right now on Amazon and Kindle, paperback, and free with Kindle Unlimited. Sometimes the smallest creatures have the biggest lessons to share. Meet Paws the Penguin. Wise, kind, and just a little bit funny in Tiny Tales of Truth. Paws the Penguin teaches patience. From author Stacy Kirch. Available on Amazon. Paws discovers that while grown-ups often tell kids to be patient, they don't always follow that advice themselves. Through heartwarming and lighthearted stories, Paws gently reminds us that patience is a skill we can all learn. Children, parents, teachers, and even busy adults. With charm and warmth, this delightful children's book shows that the best way to teach patience is by living it. Tiny Tales of Truth is perfect for family story time or classroom reading. It brings timeless values to life in a way that kids will love and grown-ups will appreciate. Bring home the gentle wisdom of Paws the Penguin right now and order your copy on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. Tiny Tales of Truth. Paws the Penguin teaches patience. From author Stacy Kirch.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. This is a special edition of the Brian Craig Show podcast, doing something I have never done before, and that's go through an entire speech someone gave, other than President Trump. And what we're going through is Pete Hegseth's speech today to all the generals and admirals from around the planet. We're all summoned here. And they're really, truly being dressed down and reprimanded for running our military into the toilet by Pete Hegseth. After he was done, the president came up, and this speech was so good, so perfect, so spectacular. President Trump was joking. I almost fired him because I had to come on after this. He was so good, right? All right, back to the War Secretary, Pete Hegseth.
We are overhauling an inspector general process, the IG, that has been weaponized, putting complainers, ideologues, and poor performers in the driver's seat. We're doing the same with the equal opportunity and military equal opportunity policies, the EO and MEO at our department. No more frivolous complaints, no more anonymous complaints, no more repeat complainants, no more smearing reputations, no more endless waiting, no more legal limbo, no more sidetracking careers, no more walking on eggshells. Of course, Being a racist has been illegal in our formation since 1948. The same goes for sexual harassment. Both are wrong and illegal. Those kinds of infractions will be ruthlessly enforced. But telling someone to shave or get a haircut or to get in shape or to fix their uniform or to show up on time or to work hard, that's exactly the kind of discrimination we want. We are not civilians.
That's right.
You are not civilians. You are set apart for a distinct purpose. So we, as a department, need to stop acting and thinking like civilians and get back to basics and put the power back in the hands of commanders and NCOs. Commanders and NCOs who make life and death decisions.
Welcome, Heidi, as a new
Commanders
member.
and NCOs who enforce standards and ensure readiness. Commanders and NCOs who, in this War Department, have to look in the mirror and they have to pass the golden rule test. My kids, your kids, America's sons and daughters. So I urge you all here today and those watching, take this guidance and run with it. The core of this speech is the 10 directives we're announcing today. They were written for you,
Look
for
at 'em.
Army leadership, for Navy
Lot
leadership,
of miserable
for Marine
wokesters.
Corps leadership, for Air Force leadership, Space Force leadership. These directives are designed to take the monkey off your back and put you, the leadership, back in the driver's seat. Move out with urgency because we have your back. I have your back. And the Commander-in-Chief has your back. And when we give you this guidance, we know mistakes will be made. It's the nature of leadership. But you should not pay for earnest mistakes for your entire career. And that's why today, at my direction, we're making changes to the retention of adverse information on personnel records that will allow leaders with forgivable, earnest, or minor infractions to not be encumbered by those infractions in perpetuity. People make honest mistakes, and our mistakes should not define an entire career. Otherwise, we only try not to make mistakes, and that's not the business we're in. We need risk takers and aggressive leaders and a culture that supports you. Fourth, at the War Department, promotions across the Joint Force will be based on one thing: merit. Colorblind, gender-neutral, merit-based. The entire promotion process, including evaluations of warfighting capabilities, is being thoroughly re-examined. We've already done a lot in this area, but more changes are coming soon. We'll promote top-performing officers and NCOs faster and get rid of poor performers more quickly. Evaluations, education, and field exercises will become real evaluations, not box checks, for every one of us at every level. These same reforms happened before World War II as well. General George Marshall and Secretary of War Henry Stimson did the same thing. And we won a world war because of it. As it happens, when he started the job, Chairman Kane gave me a frame and a photo to hang in my office. A matching frame and photo hangs in his. It's a photo of Marshall and Stimson preparing for World War II. Those two leaders famously kept the door open between their offices for the entirety of the war. They worked together, civilian and uniform, every single day. Chairman Kane and I do the same. There is no daylight between us. Our doors are always open. Our job together is to ensure our military is led by the very best, ready to answer the nation's call. Fifth, as you have seen, and the media has obsessed over, I have fired a number of senior officers since taking over. The previous chairman, other members of the Joint Chiefs, combatant commanders, and other commanders. The rationale for me has been straightforward. It's nearly impossible to change a culture with the same people who helped create or even benefited from that culture, even if that culture was created by a previous president and previous secretary. My approach has been simple. When in doubt, assess the situation, follow your gut, and if it's the best for the military, make a change. We all serve at the pleasure of the president every single day. But in many ways, it's not their fault. It's not your fault. As foolish and reckless as the woke department was, those officers were following elected political leadership.
I love that.
An entire generation of generals and admirals were told that they must parrot the insane fallacy that, quote, our diversity is our strength. Of course, we know our unity is our strength. They had to put out dizzying DEI and LGBTQI+ statements. They were told females and males are the same thing, or that males who think they're females is totally normal. They were told that we need a green fleet and electric tanks. They were told to kick out Americans who refuse an emergency vaccine. They followed civilian policies set by foolish and reckless political leaders. Our job, my job, has been to determine which leaders simply did what they must to answer the prerogatives of civilian leadership, and which leaders are truly invested in the woke department, and therefore incapable of embracing the War Department and executing new lawful orders. That's it. It's that simple. So for the past 8 months, we've gotten a good look under the hood of our officer corps. We've done our best to thoroughly assess the human terrain. We've had to make trade-offs and some difficult decisions. It's more of an art than a science. We have been and will continue to be judicious, but also expeditious. The new compass heading is clear. Out with the Shirellis, the Mackenzies, and the Millies.
The Millies.
And in with the Stockdales, the Schwarzkopfs, and the Pattons. More leadership changes will be made, of that I'm certain. Not because we want to, but because we must. Once again, this is life and death. The sooner we have the right people, the sooner we can advance the right policies. Personnel is policy. But I look out at this group, and I see great Americans. Leaders who have given decades to our great republic, at great sacrifice to yourselves and to your families. But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign. We would thank you for your service.
Wow.
But I suspect, I know, the overwhelming majority of you feel the opposite. These words make your hearts full. You love the War Department because you love what you do, the profession of arms. You are hereby liberated to be an apolitical, hard-charging, no-nonsense, constitutional leader that you joined the military to be. We need you locked in on the M, not the D, the E, or the I, not the DEI or the DIE of dime. By that I mean the M, military, of the instruments of national power. We have entire departments across the government dedicated to diplomatic, informational, and economic lines of effort. We do the M. Nobody else does. And our GoFos need to master it in every domain and every scenario. No more distractions, no more political ideologies, no more debris. Now, of course, we're going to disagree at times. We would not be Americans if we didn't. Being a leader in a large organization like ours means having frank conversations and differences of opinion. You will win some arguments, and you will lose some arguments. But when civilian leaders issue lawful orders, we execute. We are professionals in the profession of arms. Our entire constitutional system is predicated upon this understanding. Now, it seems like a small thing, but it's not. This includes as well the behavior of our troops online.
Listen
to that end, I want to thank and recognize the services for their new proactive social media policies. Use them. Anonymous, online, or keyboard complaining is not worthy of a warrior. It's cowardice masquerading as conscience. Anonymous, unit-level social media pages that trash commanders, demoralize troops, and undermine unit cohesion must not be tolerated. Again, O3s, E6s. Sixth, we must train and we must maintain. Any moment that we are not training on our mission or maintaining our equipment is a moment we are less prepared for preventing or winning the next war. That is why today, at my direction, we are drastically reducing the ridiculous amount of mandatory training that individuals and units must execute. We've already ended the most egregious. Now we're giving you back real time. Less PowerPoint briefings and fewer online courses, more time in the motor pool, and more time on the range. Our job is to make sure you have the money, equipment, weapons, and parts to train and maintain, and then you take it from there. You all know this because it's common sense. The tougher and the higher the standards in our units, the higher the retention rates in those units. Warriors want to be challenged. Troops want to be tested. When you don't train and you don't maintain, you demoralize. And that's when our best people decide to take their talents to the civilian world. The leaders who created the woke department have already driven out too many hard chargers.
I love that.
We reverse that trend right now. There is no world in which high-intensity war exists without pain, agony, and human tragedy. We are in a dangerous line of work. You are in a dangerous line of work. We may lose good people. But let no warrior cry out from the grave, "If only I had been properly trained." We will not lose warfighters because we fail to train or equip them or resource them. Shame on us if we do. Train like your warriors' lives depend on it, because they do. To that point, basic training is being restored to what it should be: scary, tough, and disciplined. We're empowering drill sergeants to instill healthy fear in new recruits.
Nancy, new member, welcome.
Ensuring that future warfighters are forged. Yes, they can shark attack, they can toss bunks, they can swear, and yes, they can put their hands on recruits. This does not mean they can be reckless or violate the law, but they can use tried and true methods to motivate new recruits, to make them the warriors they need to be. Back to basics at basic as well. Of course, and you know this, basic training is not where mission readiness should end. The nature of the evolving threat environment demands that everyone, in every job, must be ready to join the fight if needed. A core credo of the Marine Corps is every Marine a rifleman. It means that everyone, regardless of MOS, is proficient enough to engage an enemy threat at sea, in the air, or in a so-called rear area. We need to ensure that every member of our uniformed military maintains baseline proficiency in basic combat skills, especially because the next war, like the last, will likely not have a rear area. Finally, as President Trump rightly pointed out when he changed the department name, the United States has not won a major theater war since the name was changed to the Department of Defense in 1947. One conflict stands out in stark contrast: the Gulf War. Why? Well, there's a number of reasons, but it was a limited mission with overwhelming force and a clear end state. But why did we execute and win the Gulf War the way we did in 1991? There's two overwhelming reasons. One was President Ronald Reagan's military buildup gave an overwhelming advantage. And two, military and Pentagon leadership had previous formative battlefield experiences. The men who led this department during the Gulf War were mostly combat veterans of the Vietnam War. They said never again to mission creep or nebulous end states. The same holds true today. Our civilian and military leadership is chock full of veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan who say never again to nation building and nebulous end states. This clear-eyed view, all the way in the White House, combined with President Trump's military buildup, postures us for future victories if, and we will, and when we embrace the War Department. And we must. We are preparing every day. We have to be prepared for war, not for defense. We're training warriors, not defenders. We fight wars to win, not to defend. Defense is something you do all the time. It's inherently reactionary and can lead to overuse, overreach, and mission creep. War is something you do sparingly, on our own terms, and with clear aims. We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters. That's all I ever wanted as a platoon leader. And it's all my E6 squad leaders ever wanted, back to that E6 rule. We let our leaders fight their formations, and then we have their back. It's very simple, yet incredibly powerful. A few months ago, I was at the White House when President Trump announced his Liberation Day for America's trade policy. It was a landmark day. Well, today is another Liberation Day. The liberation of America's warriors, in name, in deed, and in authorities. You kill people and break things for a living. You are not politically correct and don't necessarily belong always in polite society. We are not an army of one. We are a joint force of millions of selfless Americans. We are warriors. We are purpose-built, not for fair weather, blue skies, or calm seas. We were built to load up in the back of helicopters, 5 tons, or Zodiacs, in the dead of night, in fair weather or foul, to go to dangerous places, to find those who would do our nation harm, and deliver justice on behalf of the American people in close and brutal combat if necessary. You are different. We fight not because we hate what's in front of us. We fight because we love what's behind us. You see, the Ivy League faculty lounges will never understand us, and that's okay, because they could never do what you do. The media will mischaracterize us, and that's okay, because deep down they know the reason they can do what they do is you. In this profession, you feel comfortable inside the violence so that our citizens can live peacefully. Lethality is our calling card, and victory our only acceptable end state. In closing, a few weeks ago, at our monthly Pentagon Christian prayer service, I recited a commander's prayer. It's a simple yet meaningful prayer for wisdom for commanders and leaders. I encourage you to look it up if you've never seen it. But the prayer, it ends like this. And most of all, Lord, please keep my soldiers safe. Lead them, guide them, protect them, watch over them. And as you gave all of yourself for me, help me give all of myself for them.
Now, do those guys look happy? One guy's yawning. Do they look pissed? Do they look like they're on board with Pete Hegseth? Or do they hate Pete Hegseth? Look at these guys. And ladies.
Amen. I have prayed this prayer many times since I've had the privilege of being your secretary. And I will continue to pray this prayer for each of you as you command and lead our nation's finest. Go forth and do good things, hard things. President Trump has your back, and so do I. And you'll hear from him shortly. Move out and draw fire, because we are the War Department. Godspeed.
I'd like to see all these. Look at that. All generals and admirals at attention. How many of them are there? That's something you don't see. Wow. That was pretty impressive. Whew. I'm going to take our last break, come back, and I'll share my thoughts on that. And you are welcome to call into. The number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. You're listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be back with more after this. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's Frank from West Palm. How you doing here?
All right,
Brian,
Frank.
you were absolutely correct. Laporta Roofing was amazingly phenomenal. They just completed my roof last week, and Laporta Roofing was superb in all ways imaginable when installing the new roof on my residence. Tom Laporta meticulously spearheaded the entire project from inception through to the finalization of the assignment. Tom handled all the paperwork involving city permits, inspectors, and my community HOA. He was always available, ensuring me that he had my back in all phases of the project. Additionally, Tom, Scott, and Dan, and the entire crew were very well organized with the plan, consistent with all policies and procedures, and craftsmanship was exemplary in all stages of the design execution. Tom, Scott, and Dan maintained continual contact with me, the homeowner, asking if there were any questions I had or anything further I needed. Laporta Roofing is, in every respect, a stellar, 5-star, AAA, family-owned company that is a reliable, peace-of-mind roofing organization. These guys are spot on with regards to perfection, and they demand it. I remain mesmerized upon the completion of the job. My roof is a masterpiece. And one last thing before I forget, they were the least expensive quote that I received out of 4 quotes for roofing. I thank Tom Laporta Roofing for all that they do.
Wow, Frank. Well, thanks so much. Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. He covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. He works with every type of structure, residential, commercial, municipal, and he works with every type of roofing material. Also, don't forget, Tom Laporta will never sell you a roof you do not need. If you need just a simple repair, he'll do it. He can also handle the job of any size, whether it's a single-family home or an HOA with over 200 units. Give him a call. This number rings directly to Tom Laporta's cell phone, 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, laportaroofing.com. Frank, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Brian. You have a wonderful day.
Now, I want to take a moment to talk about Jupiter Joe Thomas and annuities. You know, annuities are absolutely amazing. You know, with an annuity, no matter what happens in the market, markets go down, there's a crash, whatever happens, your investment in your annuity is safe. It never goes down. And you're guaranteed an income stream for the rest of your life. It is absolutely amazing. You know, we had Jupiter Joe Thomas was in studio with me a while back, and I asked him this question. I said, you know, a lot of working people, middle-class people invest in annuities, and also very wealthy people invest in annuities. When someone who's a high-income earner and someone who's a middle-class person comes to you, what are the different things that they're looking for? He says the same thing, income. Yeah, that's right. And, you know, a great thing about annuities, see, when you're in the workforce, people, you know, you got income coming in, people may feel a little more like gambling in an investment because they're still working, they lose money, they think, I can make some of that. When you're retired, though, you're no longer in the workforce and you don't have as much time to make up any losses. And an annuity with having a safe investment and a revenue stream for the rest of your life in your retirement, that is great. And you could do with whatever you want with that money. You can go and visit your grandkids. You can take a cruise around the world, or just go and play golf every day, or get your hair done every week, whatever it is you want to do. No one that I know is going to turn down another income stream, especially in retirement. And Joe Thomas offers free phone consultations, which you can take advantage of no matter where you are in the United States. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Joe Thomas. He's been in the retirement planning business for over 30 years, but listen to this. He's a 5-time qualifying member of the $1 Million Roundtable, which is achieved by less than 1% of all financial advisors in the world. So he's a top man in the industry, and he's offering you a free phone consultation. That is amazing. The value of that alone is something, isn't it? And after that phone consultation, Joe Thomas is going to put together a custom proposal just for you based on your situation, your needs, and your goals. Give him a call and take advantage of this. 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. And if you missed the number, just go to his website. It's easy to remember. JupiterJoe.com. All right? Okay, well, let's get back to it. All right, we are back. I'm Brian. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. You're listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast on all podcast platforms. All right, I'm going to take some calls. I really want to hear your thoughts on the Pete Hegseth speech. I thought it was the most amazing speech I've ever heard a cabinet member ever give. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, this is Sean from Massachusetts.
Oh, hey, Sean.
Well, that was unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
One of a kind.
No doubt.
I mean, first ever. We'll never see anything like this again.
No.
The ethos of that man, bringing it to the warrior ethos of a Spartan level. I mean, bringing it to America.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you think about, I was thinking a lot of that, you know, what he was doing, what he was channeling there. I mean, the real warrior mentality, the real warrior ethos. I mean, you just felt that course and true. Anybody that couldn't feel that in that room, I'll tell you what, they must be woke, because he was incredible.
Well, those generals and admirals there were a huge. I would say 2/3 of them hate him. At least 2/3 easily.
These looks. Yeah, you can see the looks. It's written. The language is written on their faces on some of them. You know, but maybe some of them were just well intent into the speech, because it was an incredible speech.
It was incredible.
But then I think you're right, though. I think there were some in there that do resent this, because they've got Obama era generals, and we got people in there that have just been there for the and they should never have been there.
That's right.
And I love what he was saying. I love how he just said, "This is no nonsense. This is what it was supposed to be." You know, back to the 1990s and before that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, listen, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Yeah, if you're on hold, hang in there. And if you'd like to call in, the number's pinned in the live chat. You know, the thing about this second Trump administration, and we're talking about Pete Hegseth right now. I mean, we have grown-ups running the country now. The country has been run by complete left-wing woke lunatics. And I've seen a lot of secretaries of defense over the years. I've never seen any of them talk like they're one of the military before. I know most of them have, probably all of them for the most part, have served at some point in the service, but they weren't career military. And Pete Hegseth is career military, and you could tell by the lingo he was using when he was talking to them. He was talking their language. And when he told them, it was an interesting thing, because I didn't play this part with General Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs that Trump brought back from retirement. He did a little speech before Pete Hegseth and introduced him, and he said something about some pull-up bars outside, and he says, "Don't worry, you're not going to have to do any PT." And they all laughed. But during that speech, Pete Hegseth said they're not going to have to do any PT today, but they are going to have to meet physical training standards twice a year, even the 4-star generals. And they're not up to it. You know, part of the reason they had this meeting and standards, obviously it's about cohesion of all the services and everything, and they're doing something big. But they're trying to get some of them to quit. And you know what? Some of them will quit, because liberals are babies. And they won't be able to handle what they have to do, which is follow orders. You know, half of them are pissed off just that they were ordered to be somewhere. These are 4-star generals and admirals, a lot of them. They're not used to, they're all flag officers pretty much. There were some high-level enlisted too, but they're not used to being ordered around. Yeah, technically, they all answer to someone. But they're all in their own little kingdom, in their own command around the world, and they're not accustomed to being ordered around like that by some guy that was doing Fox and Friends Weekend a few months back, right? So they're pissed off and feel humiliated and as if they're above him anyway, right out the gate. And as I was talking about at the beginning of the podcast, a lot of them did come from this woke era, from Obama. Remember, Obama became president 17 years ago. So these are people that came up through the ranks during that Obama and Biden woke era. And they are not happy people. I'm telling you, they're not happy. But this is good. And that thing that he did today, Pete Hegseth, that dressing down of the senior military, that scares the hell out of Putin and China, because America is back. Someone in the chat said, apply the physical standards to the police department. That is a great idea. That is a great idea. I don't know how some of these guys get around. I have a few other things I want to touch on, though. And if you're on hold, hang in there. You're welcome to call in if you have any comments on Pete Hegseth. This is Blitzer today on CNN. He's got the mayor of Chicago. And, you know, the president said today they're sending the army into Chicago, to Portland. They don't care what the governors want. And by the way, I saw today on television for the first time the lady governor of Oregon. It's like she's right out of Victor Victoria. Have you seen her? She makes Rachel Maddow look feminine. I was shocked. I'm telling you. But anyway, here's the mayor of Chicago with Blitzer.
This is absolutely appalling. This president is an unstable human being, and it's right for this moment to check him. And we're calling on Congress to do its job. There's no way that anyone in this country should be okay with armed, militarized troops being sent to cities. These individuals, these brave women and men who sign up to serve and protect this country, they do not do it with being deployed against American citizens and residents in mind. This is not only appalling, but this is, quite frankly, an egregious attempt to undermine the sanctity of our democracy.
Okay, the sanctity of our democracy. Meanwhile, people are getting shot every weekend all over Chicago in the double digits, right? And sometimes even double digits deaths. But, you know, it's insane. I may be off by a couple of days, but President Trump said today there has not been a murder in D.C. in over a month, like 30 some odd days. You know, and they were having a murder every couple of days. So the D.C. plan works, and it's going to work in these other cities. And it blows my mind, and I don't think I'm alone in this. I think it blows all of your minds. The president is mystified by it. How in Illinois, Chicago in particular, Chicago is pretty much known as the Wild West. You have both the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois telling the citizens of Chicago and of the state that 30-plus shootings a weekend is a good weekend, that it's acceptable, that you should just accept a certain number of shootings and murders in the city. And the real threat is not that the murders and the shootings that are going on in Chicago, it's Trump. That doesn't even make sense. And for the life of me, I can't believe they can go on TV and not only say that, but have mainstream news people like Blitzer agreeing with them. Now, this government shutdown, there's always government shutdowns every few years. We see them, you know, come and go. And they always make a big deal about them. But this one's different. And they're calling it, even on MSNBC and places like that, the Schumer shutdown. It's already being called the Schumer shutdown. And the Democrat Party as a whole is on life support because of like we were just talking about with Chicago, they're on the wrong side of every issue, the Democrat leaders. So they are on the verge of total collapse. This is MSNBC today, and they're giving analysis on what the Schumer shutdown effect will be on the Democrats. Listen.
Well, in the next couple of hours, it would be a bit miraculous. And I say that because there are no plans for the Senate Democratic leader and the Senate Republican leader to meet and have discussions. Same thing over here on the House side. So it seems pretty inevitable that we are headed towards a shutdown. One thing to note in terms of scheduling is that Thursday is a Jewish holiday, and Thune has said that they are not going to have votes on Thursday. It's unlikely they have votes to try and open the government even tomorrow. So we really are looking at this shutdown going for several days, possibly through the weekend.
Good.
And at a certain point, the American public, especially federal workers first and foremost, will feel the ramifications of this. And it's worth noting, despite all of us having been in shutdowns, having covered shutdowns, having seen shutdowns last 12 hours, 24 hours, this one is different because the Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vought has threatened and has essentially already let government agencies know that they are going to fire federal workers. Usually workers are furloughed and they get back paid. This is different. So this is a legitimate threat. And if we see, I think this is going to be an issue if it goes on for a long time. If scores of federal workers continue to get fired, could that put pressure on Republicans and Democrats here on Capitol Hill to say, wow, we are feeling the pain within the federal government? That could extend to the American people soon enough. Mind you, there are elections also in Virginia in November. There's the political aspect to this, too, if this goes on for a long time. Virginia has a significant federal workforce.
Yeah.
On the next
so I mean, this is, you know, these shutdowns, they usually push and then they cave and get a continuing resolution, or sometimes the government shuts down and all this. But this isn't like those other times. And President Trump has wanted to clean house with firing more federal workers, and Schumer and Jeffries, who are completely insane, are walking right into President Trump's trap, and he's going to fire a whole bunch of federal workers over this. And it'll further the work of DOGE, where they can, you know, get rid of more of the overbloated bureaucracy. And outside of Washington, no one has sympathy for these people. People are fed up with the federal government and this bureaucracy that's always messing around with everything. No, this is a big change. And the Democrat Party, if they had one adult, like one sane person in the Democrat Party that was in a position of authority. Fetterman says a lot of the right things. You can't trust him. He's just in a panic mode because Pennsylvania's gone so red. But he's not in a position of authority in the party, even though he's a senator. If they had like a Bill Clinton type level person who would come out and say, hey, you know, we gotta go along with fighting this crime in Chicago and Portland. You know, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. But they don't. All they have are hysterical lunatics that are consumed with their hatred of Trump, and they can't even see straight. And, you know, hate, which, you know, Trump derangement syndrome's hate. And hatred has an effect on the body like being intoxicated. They can't even see what's in front of them. And because of that, they're playing right into President Trump's hand. Now, if you'd like to support my podcast, become a Patreon supporter. If you become a Patreon supporter, you get access to commercial-free editions of all of my podcast episodes. There's a link to my Patreon page in the description of this episode on whatever platform you're listening to. But not only do you Patreon supporters get commercial-free editions of each and every podcast, you get access to a lot of other exclusive things that my wife, Kathy, and I both post to the Patreon page regularly. And if you're a top Patreon supporter, you get a live on-air thank you shout-out on every podcast episode. And on YouTube, you get your name up on the screen. So the names you'll hear now are my top Patreon supporters. I want to thank SF Jr., Christine, ETW, Chuck, Doris, Wesley, Nick, Pamela, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, Lee Zepp, Shauna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, Tina, David, Laura, Rob, Wes, Sue, Janice, and Teresa. And again, if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of the episode on whatever platform you're tuned in on, or you can just go to the direct website, which is patreon.com/Real Brian Craig Show. Patreon.com/Real Brian Craig Show. It's up on the screen there as well. My name's Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I will talk to you next time. Take care.